Hello, English learners. Welcome back to another extensive and deeply enriching episode of English in Advance. I am your host, Jessica, and I am absolutely delighted that you have chosen to spend your valuable time with me today. Whether you are taking a long walk, commuting to work, doing chores around the house, or simply sitting in a quiet corner with a cup of tea, I am so glad you are here. Today is going to be a marathon of learning, a true deep dive into the nuances, the rhythm, and the soul of English conversation. We are not just skimming the surface today because we are going to explore English conversation for real life, focusing on practical speaking skills that you can use immediately, right now, today. This episode is specifically designed for B1 and B2 learners who are ready to bridge that difficult gap between understanding English in a classroom and truly living in the language in the real world. We are going to spend a lot of time together today, so I want you to get comfortable. We are going to talk about everything from the subtleties of small talk to the art of diplomatic disagreement, from expressing complex emotions to navigating awkward social silences. My goal is that by the end of this episode, you will not just have a list of new phrases, but you will have a new level of confidence. You will feel more like yourself when you speak English. We are going to focus on natural flow, human connection, and the little details that make you sound less like a textbook and more like a native speaker. I will be with you every step of the way, explaining every idiom, breaking down every grammatical structure, and giving you plenty of opportunities to practice right where you are. So take a deep breath, relax your shoulders, and let us begin this journey into real English fluency. Let us start at the very beginning of any interaction, which is the greeting. Now, I know you have learned the standard greetings in school where you say hello and how are you, but in the real world, greetings are much more fluid and varied. When you see a friend or a colleague you know well, you rarely stand stiffly and ask, "How are you?" Instead, you might say something like, "How is life treating you?" This is a beautiful, open-ended question that personifies life, asking how the world is behaving toward you. It invites a deeper answer than just fine. Let's try saying that together. How is life treating you? Notice the melody as it goes down at the end. Another very common casual greeting is to ask, "What have you been up to lately?" This is asking for a summary of your recent actions. The grammar here is the present perfect continuous. Have you been up to? Which suggests we are interested in the duration of time from when we last met until now. To answer this, you do not need a long list of events. You can simply say, "Oh, just the usual, keeping busy." This phrase, keeping busy, is a badge of honor in many English-speaking cultures because it implies you are productive and active. Now imagine you run into someone you haven't seen in a very long time. The standard hello doesn't quite capture the emotion of the moment. You would likely say, "Long time no see." This is actually a phrase that came into English from a pidgin language, but it is now standard. You can follow it up by saying, "Look at you, it has been ages." Saying it has been ages is an exaggeration, of course, because it hasn't literally been ages, but it emphasizes how long the separation feels. If you want to compliment them, you can say, "You haven't aged a day." This is a very charming thing to say to someone, implying they look exactly the same as the last time you saw them. Let's practice that interaction. Imagine you see an old friend. You say, "Oh my goodness, long time no see. You haven't aged a day." Try to put some surprise and warmth into your voice when you say it. Once the greeting is over, we enter the realm of small talk. Many learners feel that small talk is fake or unnecessary, but I want you to reframe that thinking. Small talk is the warm-up. It is like stretching before you go for a run. It signals to the other person that you are friendly and safe to talk to. The most common topic is inevitably the weather, but let's move beyond just saying it is sunny. If it is an incredibly hot day, you might say, "It is a scorcher out there today, isn't it?" A scorcher implies burning heat and is much more descriptive. If it is humid and sticky, you can say, "It is really muggy today." Muggy is a fun word that describes that heavy, wet heat that makes your clothes stick to you. On the other hand, if it is freezing cold, you can say, "It is biting cold today." Biting means the cold feels like little teeth on your skin. Using these descriptive words helps you bond with the other person over a shared physical experience. Let's transition from the weather to talking about your weekend or your free time. This is a staple of Monday morning conversations in offices around the world. If someone asks, "How was your weekend?" avoid the trap of just saying it was good. Give them a little hook, a little piece of information they can respond to. You could say, "It was lovely, actually, as I just laid low and recharged." To lay low means to stay quiet, not go out to parties. Just relax at home. To recharge means to get your energy back. This is a very relatable feeling. Or perhaps you had a busy weekend. You could say, "It was a whirlwind as I was running around non-stop." A whirlwind is a storm, so you are comparing your life to a storm of activity. When you use metaphors like this, you paint a picture in the listener's mind. Now, conversation is a two-way street. It is like a game of tennis because you cannot just hold the ball, you have to hit it back. This is where follow-up questions come in. If someone tells you, "I went to a great restaurant last night," do not just say that is nice. Hit the ball back. Ask, "Oh, really? What kind of cuisine was it?" Or, "Would you recommend it?" If they tell you they are tired, ask, "Did you have a rough night?" Or, "Is work stressing you out?" Showing curiosity is the secret to being a great conversationalist. You don't actually need to be interesting yourself, you just need to be interested in them. There is a phrase we use, "I am all ears." It means I am listening intently. So if someone says, "I have some crazy news," you reply, "Tell me everything. I am all ears." Let's move deeper into the mechanics of conversation and talk about how to express your opinion. As you reach the B1 and B2 levels, you need to be able to express nuance. You are not just saying yes or no anymore. You are exploring the gray areas. A fantastic phrase to introduce a subjective opinion is, "to my mind." For example, "To my mind, the most important thing is consistency." It sounds a bit formal and sophisticated. A more casual version is, "I reckon." This is very common in British and Australian English, but understood everywhere. I reckon we should leave early to beat the traffic. It means, I think or I guess. Sometimes you have to disagree. Disagreeing in English, especially in professional or polite social settings, requires a lot of cushioning. We rarely say you are wrong because that is considered aggressive. Instead, we use what I call the soft disagreement. You can say, "I am not so sure about that." This is a very gentle way to say no. Or you can use the phrase, "I see where you are coming from, but I look at it differently." This acknowledges their logic before offering your own. Imagine you are debating which movie to watch. Your friend wants a horror movie, but you hate horror movies. You don't say that is a stupid idea. You say, I see where you are coming from, but I am not really in the mood for a scare tonight, so how about a comedy? You validate them, state your feeling, and offer an alternative. This is the golden formula for diplomacy. Another advanced skill is playing the devil's advocate. This is when you argue for the opposite side, not because you believe it, but just to explore the argument or test the idea. You can announce this by saying, just to play devil's advocate for a moment, what if we lose funding? This shows you are not being negative personally, you are just doing a mental exercise. It is a very useful phrase in business meetings or academic discussions when you want to point out a flaw without being seen as a pessimist. Let's shift gears now and talk about asking for favors and making requests. This is an area where directness can often be mistaken for rudeness. In many languages, the imperative form, like give me the salt, is perfectly polite if your tone is soft. In English, however, we use grammar to create distance and politeness. We use modal verbs like could and would. Instead of saying open the window, we say, could you possibly open the window? Adding possibly makes it even softer. Or we use the phrase, do you mind? Followed by a verb ending in ing. Do you mind helping me with this bag? Now here is a tricky part that confuses many learners. If I ask, do you mind, and you want to help, the answer is no. You are saying, no, I do not mind, meaning yes, I will help. If you say yes, you are saying yes, I mind, so stop it. So let's practice. I ask, do you mind checking this email for me? If you are happy to do it, you say, not at all, or no, go ahead. If you need to ask for a really big favor, you can start by acknowledging the burden. You can say, I know this is a big ask, but could you drive me to the airport? A big ask is a noun phrase meaning a large request. Or you can say, I hate to impose, but my car broke down. To impose means to force yourself or your needs on someone else. This shows you respect their time and boundaries. When someone grants you a favor, thank you is good, but we can do better. You can say, you are a lifesaver. This is a wonderful hyperbole. You are literally saying they saved your life, even if they just lent you a pen. It expresses deep gratitude. Or simply, I really appreciate it, I owe you one. I owe you one means I owe you a favor in return in the future. Now what happens when things go wrong? We all make mistakes. We bump into people, we forget names, we arrive late. How we apologize defines our character. For small physical accidents like bumping someone on the subway, a quick sorry or my bad is sufficient. My bad is very casual, used mostly with friends. For something more serious like forgetting a meeting, you need to own it. You can say, I completely lost track of time. I am so sorry. To lose track of time is a very common and acceptable reason. It means you were focused on something else and didn't notice the clock. If you want to be very formal, perhaps in a customer service situation or with a boss, you can say, please accept my sincerest apologies. It won't happen again. The phrase, it won't happen again, is crucial because it offers reassurance for the future. Let's move into the territory of making and changing plans. This is the logistics of friendship. When you want to invite someone, you can keep it low pressure. Are you free sometime next week to grab a coffee? Sometime is vague, which is good because it doesn't force them to commit to a specific slot immediately. If they say yes, you can then narrow it down. If you have to cancel plans, this is where many people feel anxious. The key is to give notice as soon as possible and offer a rain check. A rain check is an idiom from baseball. If a game was rained out, spectators got a ticket for a future game. In conversation, it means let's do this another time. You can say, I am so sorry something has come up and I can't make it tonight, so can I take a rain check? Saying something has come up is a polite way of saying, I have a problem, without giving the specific details. It protects your privacy while being polite. Now let's talk about navigating conversations where you might not understand everything. This is a huge fear for B1 and B2 learners. You nod and smile, hoping nobody asks you a question. But there are better strategies. If someone uses a word you don't know, be brave and ask. You can say, I am not familiar with that term. What does it mean? Native speakers love explaining their own idioms. It makes them feel smart. If someone is speaking too fast, do not say, you speak too fast. That sounds like a criticism. Instead, say, would you mind slowing down a little bit? I want to make sure I catch everything. This frames it as you valuing their words. If you completely lose the thread of the conversation, you can say, I am sorry I lost you there for a second. Could you back up a bit? To back up means to rewind, to go back to the previous point. Let's infuse some emotion into our English. We are not robots, we have feelings. If you are feeling stressed, you might say, I am at my wit's end. This means you have used all your intelligence and patience, and you don't know what to do anymore. It is a phrase of desperation. Or you might say, I am feeling a bit overwhelmed. This is softer. On the positive side, if you are excited, you can say, I am pumped. This comes from pumping up a tire. You are full of energy and pressure in a good way. I am pumped for the concert tonight. If you are relieved, perhaps after a test is finished, you can say, it is a huge weight off my shoulders. You can almost feel the physical sensation of a heavy backpack being removed. Let us practice a scenario involving storytelling. Humans are natural storytellers. When you want to tell a friend about something funny or strange that happened, you need a hook. You can start with, you are not going to believe this, or picture this. Picture this invites the listener to visualize the scene. Then, as you tell the story, use connecting words to keep the flow. Instead of just saying, and then, use phrases like, all of a sudden, or out of nowhere. For example, I was walking down the street minding my own business when out of nowhere, a dog jumped into my arms. Minding my own business is a great phrase. It means you are doing nothing special, just living your life. When you reach the climax of the story, you can slow down for effect, and then you pause. The dog started singing. Of course, that is a silly example, but you get the idea. To end a story, especially if it was long, you can say, long story short, I kept the dog. Long story short is used to summarize the ending and signal the story is over. Now, I want to address the concept of hedging. Hedging is using language to be less direct and more cautious. It is very common in English, especially British English. Instead of saying, that is expensive, you might say, that is a bit on the pricey side, isn't it? Instead of saying, I don't like it, you say, it is not really my cup of tea. Not my cup of tea is a quintessential idiom. It means it is not to my taste or preference. You can use it for music, food, movies, anything. Do you like jazz? It is not really my cup of tea. It sounds much more polite than, no, I hate it. We also use words like quite, rather, and pretty to modify adjectives. It is pretty good means it is good, but maybe not amazing. It is quite difficult means it is significantly hard. Mastering these modifiers helps you sound like a native speaker who isn't just dealing in absolutes. Let's talk about the workplace for a moment. Business English is often just polite, formal standard English. If you are in a meeting and you want to interrupt, you can't just shout. You have to wait for a tiny pause and say, "Can I just jump in here for a second?" To jump in means to contribute quickly. Or, "May I add something to that point?" If you want to clarify what someone else said to make sure you understood, you can say, "So, if I understand you correctly, you are saying that we need more time." This is called mirroring. You repeat their point back to them. It is a powerful tool for communication because it makes the other person feel heard and prevents misunderstandings. If you are leading the meeting and you want to move to the next topic, you can say, "Let's move on to the next item on the agenda." Or, "In the interest of time, let's press on." In the interest of time is a polite way of saying, "We are running out of time, so let's hurry up." Let's explore the language of encouragement. We all need a cheerleader sometimes. If your friend is nervous about a job interview, you can say, "You have got this." It is short, punchy, and powerful. It means you are capable of handling the situation. You can also say, "Break a leg." This is theatrical superstition used for good luck. Or, "Keep your chin up." This is used when things are going badly. It suggests holding your head high and maintaining dignity and hope. If someone tries and fails, you can say, "Good effort," or "You gave it your best shot." To give it your best shot means you tried as hard as you possibly could. I want to take a deeper look at the phrase, "It is what it is." You will hear this constantly. It is a phrase of acceptance. It means the situation cannot be changed, so there is no point in complaining. Imagine you miss your bus and the next one is in an hour. You sigh and say, "Well, it is what it is. I guess I will read my book." It is a philosophy of Stoicism wrapped in 5 little words. Another philosophical phrase is, "Everything happens for a reason." People say this to comfort someone after a disappointment. It suggests that a bad event might lead to a good outcome in the future. Let's focus on telephone and video call etiquette. This has become so important in our modern world. When you pick up the phone, if you don't know who it is, you simply say, "Hello?" If you are calling a business, you say, "Hi, I am calling to ask about," or "I am calling regarding." Regarding is a professional word for about. On video calls, we have a whole new vocabulary. "You are on mute" is the phrase of the decade. If the connection is bad, you say, "You are breaking up." This means the sound is cutting in and out. If the screen freezes, you say, "You are frozen." If you need to hang up a call professionally, you can say, "I will let you go now." This sounds like you are doing them a favor by ending the call, releasing them to their busy day. "I will let you go now. Have a great afternoon." Let's go back to the idea of active listening and reaction phrases, because this is where many students struggle. They sit silently. I want you to practice reacting. If I say, "I just won $1 million," I want you to shout, "Get out of here." This doesn't mean leave the room. It means I don't believe you. That is amazing. If I say, "I saw a ghost last night," you can say, "You are pulling my leg." To pull someone's leg means to joke with them or trick them. If I tell you a secret, you can say, "My lips are sealed." This creates a visual of your mouth being zipped or glued shut. It promises confidentiality. Now, let's discuss how to describe people. Beyond just tall or short, we have rich vocabulary for personality. If someone is very sociable and loves parties, they are a social butterfly. If someone likes to stay home, they are a homebody. If someone is very practical and realistic, we say they are down to earth. I love this phrase. It implies they are grounded, not floating in the clouds. If someone is easily annoyed, they might be short-tempered. If someone is very intelligent but maybe lacks common sense, we might jokingly call them an absent-minded professor. Using these character descriptions makes your storytelling much more vivid. Let's delve into the language of decision-making. When you are undecided, you can say, I am on the fence. Imagine sitting on a fence between two fields. You haven't chosen a side yet. I am on the fence about buying that car. If you have to decide quickly, you might say, I'm going to go with my gut. Your gut is your stomach, representing your intuition. I am going to go with my gut and trust him. If you need to improvise and don't have a plan, you can say, let's play it by ear. Musicians who play by ear don't read sheet music. They listen and react. So playing it by ear means deciding what to do as the situation develops. I want to spend a moment on the concept of vague language. Native speakers use things like thingy or whatchamacallit when they forget a word. Can you pass me that thingy over there? It is lazy, yes, but it is very natural. We also use sort of and kind of constantly. It was kind of weird. She is sort of nice. It blurs the edges of our statements. We also use generalizers like and stuff and things like that. We went to the park, played some frisbee, had a picnic and stuff. It indicates there were other similar activities that aren't worth listing. Let's talk about money. It is a sensitive topic, so we have many idioms for it. If something is very expensive, we say, it costs an arm and a leg. It is a gruesome image, but very common. I love that car, but it costs an arm and a leg. If something is cheap, we can say, it is a steal. It is so cheap, it is almost like you stole it. If you have no money, you can say, I am broke. If you are careful with money, you are penny-wise. If you are saving money for a rainy day, it means you are saving for an emergency in the future. Now, let's integrate some of these into a longer practice scenario. I want you to imagine you are planning a surprise party for a friend. You are talking to another friend, let's call him Dave. You might ask, Dave, are you up for helping me plan a surprise bash for Sarah? Bash is a slang word for a party. Dave replies, I am down. What do you have in mind? You say, well, I was thinking of a beach party, but I am on the fence because of the weather. Dave says, yeah, it has been really muggy lately. It might rain. You say, exactly, if it rains, we are in trouble. Dave says, the way I see it, we should book a venue just in case. Better safe than sorry. You say, that is a fair point, but venues cost an arm and a leg. Dave says, true, maybe we can do it at my place. It is not huge, but it is cozy. You say, Dave, you are a lifesaver. That would be spot on. Dave says, no worries. I will sort out the music and stuff. You say, perfect, my lips are sealed until the big day. Notice the flow there? We used, are you up for, I am down. On the fence, muggy, the way I see it. Better safe than sorry. Arm and a leg. Lifesaver, spot on, and my lips are sealed. It sounds like a completely natural conversation between two fluent speakers. I encourage you to rewind this section and shadow both parts. Play the role of Dave, then play the role of yourself. Feel the rhythm of the interaction. Let's talk about travel English, not just ordering tickets, but dealing with problems. If your flight is delayed, you might be stranded. Stranded means you are stuck somewhere with no way to leave. I was stranded at the airport for 6 hours. If you want to ask for an upgrade, be polite. I was wondering if there is any chance of an upgrade. Using is there any chance makes it a low-pressure request. If you are lost in a city, ask a stranger, excuse me, Could you point me in the right direction for the museum? Point me in the right direction is a very friendly way to ask for navigation. We are covering so much ground today. I hope you are drinking plenty of water and staying hydrated. Your brain is working hard. Let's talk about health and wellness. If you are feeling slightly sick, not terrible but not great, you are under the weather. I am feeling a bit under the weather today. If you catch a virus, we say you came down with something. I think I am coming down with the flu. If you are recovering, you are on the mend. I was sick last week, but I am on the mend now. If you are extremely healthy, you are fit as a fiddle. A fiddle is a violin. I am not sure why violins are healthy, but it is a classic idiom. Let's touch on the language of comparison. We often use the phrase, "It is like apples and oranges." This means two things are so different they cannot be compared. You can't compare living in New York to living in a tiny village. It is apples and oranges. If two things are very similar, we say they are like two peas in a pod. My sister and I are like two peas in a pod. If something is the best of the best, we say it is the cream of the crop. This university attracts the cream of the crop students. I want to address the concept of phrasal verbs because they are the backbone of spoken English. We don't say continue, we say carry on. We don't say discover, we say find out. We don't say escape, we say get away. If you want to sound less formal, swap your Latin-based verbs for phrasal verbs. Instead of saying, I tolerate my boss, say I put up with my boss. Instead of saying the relationship ended, say they broke up. Instead of saying I respect my father, say I look up to my father. Phrasal verbs add a dynamic, active feel to your speech. A great way to learn them is by topic. For example, morning routine. I wake up, I get up, I put on my clothes, I head out the door. Let's look at the phrase get used to. This is crucial for adaptation. It means the process of becoming familiar with something. Living in a new country is hard, but you will get used to it. It is different from I am used to, which means the process is finished. I am used to the noise now means the noise doesn't bother me anymore. But I am getting used to the noise means I am still in the process. It is a subtle but important grammar distinction. Now, let's talk about how to end a conversation or leave a social situation when you are stuck. Maybe someone is talking too much. You can wait for a breath and say, "Well, I don't want to keep you." This suggests you are being considerate of their time, even if you are actually the one who wants to leave. Or, "I really must be running. It was lovely to see you." If you are at a party and want to go home, you can say, "I think I am going to call it a night." To call it a night means to end the evening's activities and go to sleep. If it is during the day and you are working, you can say, "Let's call it a day." That means let's stop working for now. As we continue this journey, let's delve deeper into the nuances of professional English. Business English can often feel intimidating because we think it requires a whole new vocabulary. But in reality, it is often just about being polite, clear, and diplomatic. Imagine you are in a meeting. You don't just start talking. You need to signal your intention. If you want to start the meeting, you might say, "Let's get the ball rolling." This is a dynamic idiom that means let's start the process. If you want to hand the conversation over to a colleague, you say, "I will hand it over to Sarah now," or "The floor is yours, Sarah." This shows respect and professional courtesy. If the meeting is going off topic, which happens all the time, you can politely steer it back by saying, "Let's circle back to the main agenda." To circle back means to return to a previous point. If you want to finish the meeting, you can say, "Let's wrap things up." To wrap up implies bringing everything to a tidy conclusion, just like wrapping a gift. Conflict in the workplace is inevitable, but how you handle it in English defines your professionalism. You never want to be accusatory. Instead of saying you missed the deadline, try using the passive voice to soften the blow. You could say, "The deadline was missed." This focuses on the event, not the person. If you disagree with a strategy, don't say, "That is a bad idea." Say, "I have some reservations about this approach." Having reservations means you have doubts or concerns. If you want to propose a compromise, use the phrase, "Can we meet halfway?" This suggests that both sides give up a little to reach an agreement. If the agreement benefits everyone, we call it a win-win situation. We are looking for a win-win solution here. On the other hand, if you are negotiating a salary or a price and someone offers you a number that is far too low, you can say, "That is a bit of a lowball offer." To lowball means to deliberately offer less than something is worth. Let's move from the boardroom to the break room. Networking is a huge part of professional success. When you meet someone new at a conference, you need an elevator pitch. This is a 30-second summary of who you are and what you do. It is called an elevator pitch because it should be short enough to say during an elevator ride. You might say, "I am a graphic designer specializing in sustainable branding." It is short, punchy, and memorable. When you are making small talk with colleagues, you might discuss the grapevine. The grapevine is the informal communication network in an office, basically the rumors. "I heard through the grapevine that there might be a merger." If you are working very hard, you might say, "I am burning the candle at both ends." This means you are working late into the night and starting early in the morning, and you are likely to get exhausted. If you have too much work, you are snowed under. "I would love to grab lunch, but I am snowed under with reports today." Now let's shift gears entirely and talk about the language of love and relationships. This is one of the most human experiences, and you need the right words to express it. If you meet someone and you like them immediately, you can say, "We hit it off right away." To hit it off means to have instant chemistry. If you are just starting to see someone casually, you might say, "We are just seeing each other. It is not serious yet." If you decide to become a couple, you might say, "We have decided to make it official." If you are deeply in love, you might say, "I am head over heels for him." Imagine tumbling down a hill head over heels. That is how love feels. However, not all relationships work out. If you start to see problems, you might call them red flags. Being rude to the waiter was a huge red flag for me. If the relationship ends, as we discussed, you break up. But if you drift apart slowly without a big fight, you might say, "We just grew apart." If someone disappears without explanation, that is ghosting. "He ghosted me after 3 dates." It is a harsh reality of modern dating, but a very common term. Let's talk about the vocabulary of the home. Your home is your sanctuary. If you like to stay home, you are a homebody. If you have a guest room, you might tell a friend, "You are welcome to crash at my place." To crash means to sleep, usually for just 1 or 2 nights. If you are doing renovations, you might say, "The house is a bit of a construction zone right now. If you have a lot of clutter, you need to declutter. I spent the whole weekend decluttering the garage." If you are moving house, it is one of the most stressful life events. You have to pack up, hire movers, and get settled in. To get settled in means to unpack your boxes and start feeling comfortable in the new space. How are you settling in? Is a great question to ask someone who just moved. Now let's explore the language of health and the body in more detail. We often use the body for metaphors. If you are nervous, you have cold feet. If you are trying to listen to a secret conversation, you prick up your ears. If you are ignoring something unpleasant, you turn a blind eye. The manager turned a blind eye to the staff taking long breaks. If you are very expensive, it costs an arm and a leg. If you are teasing someone, you are pulling their leg. If you are helping, you give a hand. If you are watching carefully, you keep an eye on it. If you say something you shouldn't have, you put your foot in your mouth. I really put my foot in my mouth when I asked her when the baby was due and she wasn't pregnant. It is an embarrassing situation, but the idiom captures it perfectly. Let's talk about the concept of time. We have so many expressions for time because we are obsessed with it. If you do something very rarely, it is once in a blue moon. If you do something at the last possible second, it is at the 11th hour. If time passes quickly, time flies. If something takes a long time, it drags on. The lecture dragged on for 3 hours. If you are arriving at the exact time, you are on the dot. If you have free time, you have time on your hands. Since I retired, I have a lot of time on my hands. If you are wasting time, you are killing time. We killed time at the mall while waiting for the movie. If you are strictly following a schedule, you are running on time. If you are late, you are running behind. I want to introduce you to the power of the word get. As B2 learners, you should be mastering this chameleon of a word. It replaces so many formal verbs. Instead of receive, use get. Did you get my email? Instead of buy, use get. I need to get some milk. Instead of arrive, use get. When will you get here? Instead of become, use get. It is getting dark. Instead of understand, use get. I don't get the joke. Instead of persuade, use get. I got him to agree. Using get makes your English sound significantly more natural and less robotic. Try to catch yourself using formal verbs like obtain or arrive in casual conversation and swap them for get. Let's discuss the language of describing personality. We are complex creatures, and good and bad is not enough. If someone is very practical, they are down to earth. If they are very sociable, they are the life of the party. If they are a bit crazy or unpredictable, they are a loose cannon. You have to be careful with him. He is a bit of a loose cannon. If someone is very smart but maybe lacks common sense, they are an absent-minded professor. If someone is very ambitious, they are a go-getter. She is a real go-getter. She will be CEO one day. If someone is lazy, they are a couch potato. If someone likes to gossip, they are a busybody. A busybody is someone who is too interested in other people's lives. Don't be such a busybody. Now let's talk about hypothetical situations. This is where grammar meets imagination. We use the second conditional to talk about things that are not real. If I won the lottery, I would buy a boat. Notice the structure. If plus past tense, followed by would plus verb. If I were you, I would take the job. This is the standard advice structure. We can also use the third conditional to talk about the past. If I had studied harder, I would have passed the test. This expresses regret. Mastering these structures allows you to tell stories about what didn't happen, which adds layers of depth to your conversation. Let's engage in a little practice regarding giving your opinion on controversial topics. In polite society, we are often told not to discuss politics or religion, but in real life, we do. The key is to be respectful. You can preface your opinion by saying, "Personally, I feel that," or "from my perspective." If you want to disagree without starting a fight, you can say, "That is an interesting way to look at it, but have you considered," or "I respect your opinion, but I see the facts differently." There's a great phrase, "Let's agree to disagree." This is the diplomatic escape hatch. It means we will never agree, so let's stop arguing and remain friends. We argued for an hour and finally decided to agree to disagree. Let's talk about the weather again, but this time let's talk about extreme weather, because climate is a hot topic. If it is raining extremely hard, we say it is bucketing down. If there is a storm with wind, it is a gale. It is blowing a gale out there. If it is hot and humid, it is stifling. It was so stifling in the room I could hardly breathe. If there is a gentle wind, it is a breeze. If it is a perfect day, we say it is glorious. What a glorious day for a picnic. Now, let's move to the kitchen. Cooking is a universal language. If you are preparing food, you are prepping. I need to prep the vegetables. If you are frying something quickly, you are sautéing. If you are cooking it in water, you are boiling. If you keep it just below boiling, you are simmering. The soup needs to simmer for an hour. If you burn it, well, you burned it. If you are following a recipe, you might need a pinch of salt. A pinch is the amount you can hold between your finger and thumb. If you are eating very quickly, you are wolfing it down. He was so hungry he wolfed down his dinner. If you are eating small amounts, you are nibbling. She just nibbled on a cracker. Let's talk about technology and the internet. If your computer stops working, it crashed. If the screen doesn't move, it is frozen. If the internet is slow, it is lagging. If you restart the computer, you reboot it. On social media, if you look at someone's photos from 5 years ago, you are stalking them. It is a joke, of course, but we say, "I was stalking his profile last night." If you stop following someone, you unfollow them. If a post becomes very popular, it goes viral. If you are addicted to looking at bad news, as we mentioned before, you are doom scrolling. These words are new, but they are essential for modern conversation. Let's explore the vocabulary of money management. If you have very little money, you are living paycheck to paycheck. This means you spend everything you earn each month. If you are saving money, you are building a nest egg. A nest egg is savings for the future. If you spend money on something unnecessary but enjoyable, you splurge. I splurged on a new pair of shoes. If you are careful with money, you are thrifty. If you are cheap and hate spending, you are stingy. There is a big difference between being thrifty, which is smart, and stingy, which is mean. Now, I want to talk about the concept of empathy. Empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another. In English, we have specific phrases to show this. If someone is going through a hard time, you can say, "I can't imagine what you are going through." This admits that their pain is unique. You can say, "My heart goes out to you." This is very touching and sincere. If someone tells you a difficult story, you can simply say, "That must be so hard." Validating their feelings is often more important than giving advice. Don't try to fix it immediately, just listen. Let's move to the topic of entertainment. If a movie keeps you on the edge of your seat, it is a thriller. If it makes you cry, it is a tearjerker. If it is very funny, it is hilarious. If the actors are great, the cast is stellar. If the story is confusing, the plot is convoluted. If you are watching a TV series all at once, you are binge watching. I binge watched the whole season this weekend. If a song is stuck in your head, it is an earworm. That new pop song is a total earworm. Let's discuss the idea of making it. To make it means to succeed. He finally made it as an actor. But we also use it for arriving. I don't think we will make it to the party on time. We use it for survival. The doctors didn't think he would make it, but he survived. It is a powerful little verb phrase. Another success idiom is to ace it. I studied hard and I aced the exam. This means to get a perfect or near perfect score. If you fail, you bomb it. I totally bombed the interview. Let's talk about decision making. When you have a difficult choice, you are between a rock and a hard place. This means both options are bad. I can't quit because I need the money, but I hate the boss. I am between a rock and a hard place. If you have to choose the less evil option, you choose the lesser of two evils. If you act without thinking, you act on impulse. I bought the car on impulse. If you think about it for a long time, you weigh the pros and cons. I weighed the pros and cons and decided to stay. Now let's engage in a storytelling exercise. I want you to imagine a day where everything went wrong. Start with, I woke up on the wrong side of the bed. This means you woke up in a bad mood. Then I spilled coffee on my shirt. Then I missed the bus. It was a comedy of errors. A comedy of errors is a situation with many funny mistakes. Finally, I got to work and realized it was Sunday. I felt like such a fool. Ending a story with a feeling helps the listener connect. I felt embarrassed. I felt relieved. I felt proud. Let's talk about describing sounds. The English language loves onomatopoeia. The door creaked. The wind howled. The rain pattered against the window. The fire crackled. The cat purred. The clock ticked. Using these sensory words brings your English to life. Don't just say, there was a noise. Say, there was a loud bang, or a soft whisper, or a high-pitched screech. Let's discuss the concept of face. To lose face means to lose respect or reputation. He didn't want to admit he was wrong because he didn't want to lose face. To save face means to avoid humiliation. I let him win the game to help him save face. To keep a straight face means to stop yourself from laughing. It was so funny, but I had to keep a straight face during the meeting. Let's talk about memory again. If you have a great memory, you have a memory like an elephant. If you have a bad memory, you have a memory like a sieve. A sieve is a kitchen tool with holes for draining water. If something is on the tip of your tongue, it means you almost remember it, but not quite. Her name is on the tip of my tongue. Now, let's focus on how to interrupt politely. We talked about this briefly, but let's drill it. Sorry to interrupt, but is the standard. Excuse me for cutting in is also good. If you want to return to the topic after an interruption, say, as I was saying. As I was saying before we were interrupted, the report is due tomorrow. Let's talk about the word run. It is one of the most complex words in English. You can run a business, meaning manage it. You can run a marathon, meaning exercise. You can run out of milk, meaning have none left. You can run into a friend, meaning meet unexpectedly. You can run over a plan, meaning review it. You can run a fever, meaning be sick. The car is running well, meaning functioning. My nose is running, meaning mucus. Context is everything with the word run. Pay attention to the words around it to understand the meaning. Let's talk about animals and idioms. The elephant in the room is a big problem no one wants to talk about. To let the cat out of the bag is to reveal a secret. To kill 2 birds with 1 stone is to solve 2 problems with 1 action. Hold your horses means wait, be patient. A wild goose chase is a pointless search. Like a fish out of water means uncomfortable in a new situation. These idioms are cultural treasures. Using them correctly shows a high level of cultural fluency. Let's finish this section with a focus on gratitude. We say thank you, but we also say, I can't thank you enough. You have made my day. This means you made my day happy. I am eternally grateful. This is very formal and strong. I appreciate your help. This is the standard professional thank you. We have journeyed through the office, the home, the heart, and the mind in this section. We have added colors to your vocabulary palette. You now have the words to paint a picture of a storm, a romance, a business deal, or a disastrous day. This is the power of English. It is not just about exchanging information. It is about sharing the human experience. Let us begin with a focus on pronunciation, specifically the subtle sounds that make a big difference. One of the biggest markers of a native accent is the schwa sound. It is the lazy sound, the sound in unstressed syllables. Look at the word banana. We don't say ba-na-na. We say bu-na-nua. The first and last A become schwas. Look at the word photograph, photograph. Now look at photography, photography. The stress shifts and the vowels change. Mastering the schwa is the secret to the rhythm of English. I want you to practice listening for the stress in every new word you learn. If you stress the wrong syllable, native speakers might not understand you even if the vowels are perfect. So relax your mouth. Don't try to pronounce every letter perfectly. English is a language of contrast between the loud, long, stressed syllables and the quiet, short, unstressed ones. Another pronunciation challenge is the th sound. I know it is hated by many, but you must master it. Stick your tongue out between your teeth, blow air, think, thought, through. Now add your voice. This, that, those. A common mistake is to replace it with S or Z or T or D, sinking instead of thinking, dat instead of that. While people will understand you, getting the TH right is a huge step towards sounding advanced. Practice in the mirror. It feels silly, but it works. 33,000 thirsty thoughts. Try saying that 3 times fast. Let's move back to vocabulary and talk about the concept of degree. We often want to say how much or how little. We use words like somewhat, slightly, extremely, utterly. I was slightly annoyed means a little bit. I was somewhat confused means a medium amount. I was extremely happy means a lot. I was utterly devastated means completely. Utterly is a strong word used with negative or extreme adjectives. Utterly ridiculous, utterly impossible. Using these adverbs adds precision to your speech. You are not just happy, you are incredibly happy. You are not just tired, you are totally exhausted. Let's talk about the language of cause and effect again, but more conversationally. It boils down to means the main reason is. It boils down to money. We can't afford it. It stems from means it comes from a root cause. His anger stems from his childhood. It led to means caused. The argument led to a breakup. The bottom line is introduces the final conclusion. The bottom line is we need to work harder. These phrases help you structure your arguments and explanations logically. Now, I want to weave a story that uses many of the idioms we have learned today. I want you to listen and try to spot them. So, picture this. I was at work, snowed under with reports, running on fumes. My boss, who is a bit of a loose cannon, comes in and tells me we have a meeting at the 11th hour. I was seeing red, but I bit my tongue. I went to the meeting and it dragged on for ages. But then, out of the blue, he offered me a promotion. I was floored. I thought he was going to fire me. It turns out he had been keeping an eye on my work and was impressed. I was over the moon. I called my husband and told him we should go out and splurge on a nice dinner. It just goes to show every cloud has a silver lining. Did you catch them? Snowed under, running on fumes, loose cannon, 11th hour, seeing red meaning angry, bit my tongue meaning stayed silent, dragged on, out of the blue, floored meaning shocked, keeping an eye on, over the moon, splurge. Every cloud has a silver lining. This is how native speakers talk. They weave these expressions together naturally. I encourage you to rewind and listen to that story again. Shadow it. Try to tell a similar story about your own life using at least 3 of those idioms. Let's talk about the future of your English. You are at a B1 or B2 level. This is the intermediate plateau. It is the place where many learners get stuck. You know enough to survive, so you stop pushing. To get to C1 and C2, you need to change your habits. You need to consume content made for native speakers, not just learners. Watch the news in English. Read novels. Listen to comedy. Comedy is the hardest test because it relies on culture and wordplay. If you can understand a stand-up comedian, you are winning. You also need to embrace the growth mindset. Believe that your brain is a muscle. Every time you struggle to find a word, your brain is growing stronger. Don't shy away from difficult conversations. Seek them out. Ask questions. Be curious. Let's talk about the difference between formal and informal register. Formal is, I would like to inquire about the position. Informal is, I want to ask about the job. Formal is, I apologize for the inconvenience. Informal is, sorry for the hassle. Formal is, please inform us of your arrival. Informal is, let us know when you get here. Knowing when to switch is crucial. You don't use slang in a job interview, and you don't use formal academic language at a bar with friends. Being adaptable is a sign of fluency. Let's discuss some false friends. These are words that look like words in your language, but mean something different. Sensible means practical, not sensitive or emotional. Fabric means cloth, not factory. Parents are mother and father, not relatives like cousins or aunts. Library is for borrowing books, not buying them, which is a bookstore. Assist means to help, not to attend or be present at. Paying attention to these traps prevents confusion. Let's talk about the power of silence. In conversation, silence is a tool. You can use it to emphasize a point. You can use it to let the other person think. You don't have to fill every second with noise. If you are thinking, just say, let me see. Or, that is a good question. It buys you time and keeps the flow natural. Now, let's talk about the global community of English speakers. English belongs to the world now. It is not just for the UK, USA, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. It is the language of business in Tokyo, the language of science in Berlin, the language of diplomacy in the UN. When you speak English, you are joining a global club. You don't need to sound American or British. You need to sound like you, speaking English. Your voice, your ideas, your personality. That is what matters. I want to leave you with a final practice technique called talking to the wall. Stand in your room. Pick a topic, say climate change or my favorite movie. Set a timer for 2 minutes. And just talk. Don't stop. If you don't know a word, describe it. If you make a mistake, keep going. This builds stamina. It trains your brain to retrieve vocabulary under pressure. Do this every day for a month, and I promise you, your fluency will skyrocket. Let's start with something that happens to almost everyone eventually, which is car trouble. Imagine you are driving and something goes wrong. You need to be able to explain it to a mechanic or a roadside assistance operator. If your car won't start, it might be because the battery is dead. You might need a jump start. This is when another car connects cables to your battery to give it power. Those cables are called jumper cables. If you get a hole in your tire, we call it a flat tire. You might say, I got a flat on the highway. If you are lucky, you have a spare tire in the trunk. By the way, in American English, it is a trunk. In British English, it is a boot. If your car stops working completely while you are driving, we say it broke down. I broke down in the middle of nowhere. If you have a small accident with another car, just a little bump, we call it a fender bender. It is not a serious crash, just a fender bender. However, if the car is so damaged that it costs more to fix than the car is worth, we say the car is totaled. I got into an accident and my car was totaled. If you are driving and the police stop you, perhaps for speeding, we say you got pulled over. I got pulled over for doing 50 in a 30 zone. Now let's shift to the world of money and banking. We talked about being broke, but let's get more technical. If you spend more money than you have in your bank account, you are overdrawn. The bank might charge you an overdraft fee. If you want to buy a house, you usually need a specific type of loan called a mortgage. Applying for a mortgage is a long process involving a lot of paperwork. If you are borrowing money, you have to pay interest. If the interest rate is high, it costs you a lot more. If you are saving for retirement, you might put money into a pension or a 401k if you are in the U.S. If you feel that a service or product is way too expensive for what it is, you can call it a rip-off. That mechanic is a rip-off. He charged me double the standard rate. On the other hand, if you are very careful with your budget, you might say you are pinching pennies. We are pinching pennies right now to save for a vacation. If you settle a debt, you pay it off. It took me 5 years to pay off my student loans. Let's move into a very complex area of English culture: humor. English humor, particularly British humor, relies heavily on irony and sarcasm. Sarcasm is when you say the opposite of what you mean, usually to be funny or critical. For example, if it is raining heavily and you are soaking wet, you might say, "Lovely weather we are having." That is sarcasm. If someone does something clumsy, like dropping a plate, you might say, "Nice work." You have to be careful with sarcasm because if your tone is too serious, people might think you are being mean. We also have a style of humor called deadpan or dry humor. This is when you tell a joke without smiling or laughing. You keep a straight face. If someone is teasing you in a friendly way, as we mentioned, they are pulling your leg. Another phrase is taking the mickey. He is just taking the mickey. Don't mind him. If a joke falls flat, it means nobody laughed. I told a joke at the meeting, and it completely fell flat. It was so awkward. If you laugh very hard, you can say, "I was cracking up." "She is so funny, she always cracks me up." Or, "I was in stitches." This implies your stomach hurt from laughing so much. Let's talk about the modern workplace, specifically remote work. Since the pandemic, our vocabulary has changed. We now talk about working from home, or WFH. We are digital nomads if we travel while working. If you have a job in addition to your main job, usually a passion project or a small business, we call it a side hustle. She works in finance, but her side hustle is photography. In virtual meetings, we have new struggles. If you speak while your microphone is off, someone will say, "You are on mute." If your video freezes, they will say, "You are lagging," or "You are frozen." If you are exhausted from too many video calls, you have Zoom fatigue. We also talk a lot about work-life balance. This is the ability to separate your job from your personal life. It is hard to maintain a good work-life balance when your office is your living room. If you work independently for different clients, you are a freelancer. Being a freelancer offers freedom, but the income can be unstable. We often say it is feast or famine. This means sometimes you have too much work and sometimes you have none. Let's explore the language of instinct and senses. Sometimes you know something without knowing why. We call this a gut feeling. I have a gut feeling that this is a bad idea. If something smells bad, it is stinky or musty. Musty describes the smell of old books or a damp basement. If something tastes very sour, it makes you pucker. Lemons make your mouth pucker. If something is very loud and annoying, it is deafening. The music at the concert was deafening. If a surface is not smooth, it is rough or coarse. Sandpaper is coarse. If something is wet and sticky, it might be slimy. Snails are slimy. Using these sensory words makes your descriptions much more vivid. Don't just say it felt bad. Say it felt slimy and cold. Now let's look at the grammar of emphasis. We often use what are called cleft sentences to highlight specific information. Instead of saying, "I need coffee," you can say, "What I really need is coffee." This puts the focus strongly on the coffee. Instead of saying, "John called me," you can say, "It was John who called me." This emphasizes that it was John, not someone else. You can also use the phrase, "the thing is," to introduce a problem or a main point. "I would love to go, but the thing is, I don't have a car." Or, "The reason why I am calling is to apologize." These structures help you control the rhythm of the conversation and direct the listener's attention to what matters most. Let's talk about idiomatic expressions related to sports. Even if you don't like sports, you will hear these in business and life. If you need to contact someone briefly, you touch base. "Let's touch base next week." This comes from baseball. If someone asked you a difficult or unexpected question, they threw you a curveball. The interviewer really threw me a curveball with that last question. If you are in a situation where everyone has an equal chance of winning, it is a level playing field. We need to make sure it is a level playing field for all candidates. If you initiate a project, you get the ball rolling. If you give up, you throw in the towel. This comes from boxing. I was trying to fix the computer for hours, but I finally threw in the towel and called a technician. If decision is your responsibility now, the ball is in your court. I have sent you the proposal, so the ball is in your court. Let's discuss the language of white lies. A white lie is a small, harmless lie told to be polite or to avoid hurting someone's feelings. For example, if someone cooks you dinner and it tastes terrible, you probably won't say, "This is disgusting." You might tell a white lie and say, "It is very interesting," or "I am not very hungry right now." If someone invites you to a party you don't want to go to, you rarely say, "I don't want to go." You say, "I have prior plans," or I am busy that night. This is social lubrication. It keeps relationships running smoothly. Knowing when to be honest and when to tell a white lie is a key part of cultural fluency. Let's talk about descriptions of trends and changes. This is very useful for the IELTS exam or business presentations. If a number goes up very quickly, it skyrockets. Prices have skyrocketed this year. If it goes down quickly, it plummets or crashes. The stock market plummeted yesterday. If it goes up and down repeatedly, it fluctuates. The temperature has been fluctuating all week. If it stays the same, it stabilizes or levels off. After the surge, sales leveled off. If change is happening little by little, it is gradual. If it happens all at once, it is sudden or drastic. We need to make drastic changes to the budget. Now let's engage in a little more storytelling practice. I want to tell you a story about a travel mishap. So there I was, stranded in a foreign city. I had missed the last train, and it was pouring rain. I tried to call a taxi, but my phone battery died. I was at my wit's end. I started walking, hoping to find a hotel. I was soaked to the bone. Suddenly, a car pulled over. I was terrified. But it turned out to be an elderly couple. They asked if I needed a lift. I hesitated, but my gut told me they were safe. I hopped in. They drove me all the way to my hostel and even gave me a cookie. It restored my faith in humanity. Let's unpack the phrases. Stranded means stuck. Pouring rain means heavy rain. At my wit's end means desperate. Soaked to the bone means extremely wet. Pulled over means stop the car. Need a lift means need a ride. Hopped in means got in quickly. Restored my faith in humanity means made me believe people are good again. This is a classic narrative arc involving a problem, a climax, and a resolution. Let's talk about words that connect ideas in speech. We call these discourse markers. Mind you, is used to add a contrast or exception. He can be very rude. Mind you, he is very talented. Having said that, is similar to however. The car is expensive. Having said that, it is very reliable. To be honest is used to introduce a frank opinion. To be honest, I didn't like the movie. At the end of the day is used to summarize the most important fact. We can argue about details, but at the end of the day, we need to finish the project. In the meantime, is used to talk about the time between two events. The doctor will be here soon. In the meantime, please fill out this form. Let's touch on the language of obligation. I have to is an external obligation. I have to pay my taxes. I must is an internal or strong obligation. I must remember to call Mom. I am supposed to is an expectation. I am supposed to be at work by 9. I had better is a warning. You had better leave now or you will miss the bus. Note that we often shorten this to you better. You better be careful. I ought to is advice to self. I ought to exercise more. Let's talk about the environment. Describing the world around you is a beautiful way to practice. If a city is very large and spreads out, we call it a sprawling metropolis. If it is full of people, it is congested or overcrowded. If it is dirty, it is gritty. If it is clean and modern, it is pristine. When we talk about nature, if a landscape is empty and sad, it is bleak. The winter landscape was bleak. If it is green and healthy, it is lush. The rainforest is lush. If it is dry, it is arid. If a path is very steep, it is treacherous. Be careful. The mountain path is treacherous. Using these words makes you sound like a poet. Let's talk about academic and intellectual vocabulary. If you are thinking deeply, you are contemplating or pondering. I was pondering the meaning of life. If you understand something suddenly, you have an epiphany. I had an epiphany in the shower. If something is very confusing, it is baffling. The instructions were baffling. If an idea is theoretical and not practical, it is abstract. That is a bit too abstract for me. Can you give a concrete example? If you create a theory, you formulate it. We need to formulate a plan. Now, let's talk about the concept of fluency. Many people think fluency means knowing every word in the dictionary. That is not true. Even native speakers don't know every word. Fluency is the ability to flow. It is the ability to handle a situation where you don't know the word without stopping. It is the ability to describe the thing you use to chop wood instead of panicking because you forgot the word axe. It is the ability to use get and stuff and thingy naturally. It is about comfort, not perfection. I want to share a technique called shadowing one more time because it is so important. Find a podcast host or a YouTuber whose voice you like. Listen to a sentence. Pause. Repeat it exactly. Copy their speed. Copy their pauses. Copy their emotion. If they sound angry, you sound angry. If they whisper, you whisper. This connects your ears to your mouth. It builds muscle memory. Do this for 5 minutes a day and your accent will transform. Let's talk about the power of reading. Reading is the best way to expand your vocabulary because you see words in context. But don't just read textbooks. Read news articles. Read blogs. Read recipes. Read comments on YouTube videos. YouTube comments are a messy, wild place, but they are full of real, raw, slang-filled English. Just be careful, because the grammar isn't always perfect there. Let's review some collocations. These are words that naturally go together. We make a mistake. We don't do a mistake. We take a shower. We don't make a shower. We give advice. We don't make advice. We pay attention. We keep a promise. We break a record. We catch a cold. We run a business. Learning these pairs is faster than learning single words. When you learn a new noun, always ask, which verb goes with it? Let's talk about the future. You are going to continue learning. You will have days where you feel like you are moving backward. That is normal. It is part of the process. On those days, be kind to yourself. Watch a favorite movie in English with subtitles. Listen to a song you love. Remind yourself why you started. Maybe it was for a job. Maybe it was for travel. Maybe it was just for the love of the language. Reconnect with that purpose. I want to leave you with a story about persistence. Imagine a stonecutter hitting a rock. He hits it 100 times, and there is not even a crack. But on the 101st blow, the rock splits in two. It wasn't the last blow that did it. It was all the blows that came before. Your English learning is like that. You might study for months and feel like nothing is happening, but you are creating cracks in the wall of the language. And one day, suddenly, it will break open. You will understand a joke without translating. You will dream in English. You will speak without thinking. That moment is coming. Keep hitting the rock. We have reached the end of our journey, from the first hello to this final goodbye. We've explored the vast landscape of the English language. We have laughed. We have argued. We have negotiated. And we have dreamed. All in English. I am Jessica. It has been an absolute honor to be your host for this English in Advance special. You are part of a global community of learners, and you are doing a fantastic job. Take these words, take these phrases, and go out into the world and use them. Make mistakes. Be messy. Be loud. Be proud. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your time. Please subscribe, like, and share this with anyone who needs a boost in their English journey. Leave a comment below and tell me, what was your light bulb moment in this series? I can't wait to read your stories. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and take care. Goodbye.